Hey, Jake with B&H. Today we got our hands on the newest generation of Nikon Z mirrorless cameras, the Z6 II and the Z7 II. Both cameras host a variety of new features and upgrades from the previous Z6 and Z7 models. Dual processors, dual card slots, and increased capture speeds are just a few of the improvements that we're going to be taking a look at. If you're a current Z6 or Z7 shooter, then there's a lot to be excited about. We're going to take the 6 II and 7 II for a little test drive today, so let's check them out. Let's start off with the Z6 II. The Z6 became known as the all-arounder mirrorless camera, excelling at photo and video capture, and that tradition carries directly over into the 6 II. It has a 24.5 megapixel full-frame BSI CMOS sensor and now features dual X-Speed 6 processors, adding increased speed and higher buffer numbers. With that kind of speed boost, you're looking at storing 124 raw shots in the buffer over 35 on the original Z6, which is roughly 3.5 times faster. Also, thanks to increased speed, the 6 II has increased to 14 frames per second in single-point AF and continuous H extended over the previous 12 frames per second in the Z6. The 6 II remains at 12 frames per second while in other AF modes. Autofocus has been improved as well on the 6 II with eye and face detection for both humans and animals in wide area AFL mode, allowing you to isolate a smaller portion of the frame. This feature also carries over in the movie recording mode. The 6 II also has the same 273 on-sensor AF points that provide 90% coverage of the frame. The 6 II features 5-axis in-body stabilization when you're using the Nikon Z lenses. If you're using F-mount lenses with the Z cameras via their FTZ adapter, then you get 3-axis in-body stabilization. So whether you're using the newest glass in the lineup or F-mount lenses, you'll be able to shoot photo and video handheld with confidence. ISO ranges from 100 to 51,200 and can be expanded up to high 2.0, which is the equivalent of 204,800 ISO. Moving into video, the 6 II features 4K Ultra HD up to 30 frames per second with a full pixel readout, and Nikon has announced that there will be a firmware update in February 2021 to enable 4K Ultra HD 60 FPS. In its base setting, the camera records 8-bit color internally for immediate use. You can even use the built-in picture controls while recording to give your footage an immediate creative look. If you're looking to manipulate the image in post-production and have a deeper control over your image, there is the 10-bit color option with N-Log, but that's only available over HDMI to an external recorder. The camera can utilize N-Log in the new HDR or HLG output mode for more range in your footage. With N-Log, you can push your footage further in post for more intense color grades. HLG produces a more out-of-camera polished look and a higher bitrate that can take advantage of playback on HLG or HDR displays. As I mentioned, to access the 10-bit N-Log in HDR modes, you'll have to output to an external recorder, such as the Atomos via HDMI. Pushing even further, the 6 II can output a 12-bit ProRes RAW file that opens up a world of post-production options for pushing your footage to the max by taking data directly from the camera sensor. If you're looking to slow things down, the 6 II can do 1080p up to 120 frames per second, in addition to the 4K UHD 60 FPS that is coming in the first firmware upgrade. On the physical side, the size, weight, and feel of the 6 II is near identical to that of the 6. So this camera should transition smoothly into your workflow if you've been using the 6 before. Everything feels and looks the same, but that doesn't mean there aren't some hidden upgrades around the camera. On the side of the camera, you'll find the same inputs for headphones, a microphone, a USB-C connection, HDMI mini, and remote. A very important feature is the addition of a second card slot, opening up the possibilities for redundant shooting, overflow shooting, and splitting your files across multiple cards. Slot 1 will utilize CF Express Type B and XQD formats, while Slot 2 will take UHS 2 SD cards. With the addition of CF Express Type B, you can now write to your card up to 4 times the speed of XQD. The EVF houses a 3.6 million dot quad VGA display utilizing Nikon optics and coatings. And now you can view the image in the EVF completely info-free for an unobstructed view of your subject. Blackout reduction times have also been shortened when shooting with the EVF or LCD in continuous H release mode. The 3.2-inch 2100 dot touch operable LCD monitor tilts up and down to make high and low shooting much easier. The battery in the 6 II is the new EN-EL15C type battery, which can be charged in the camera while is off and allows for the camera to be powered via the USB-C port while the camera is on for indefinite periods of time. This is great for time-lapse, movie recording, and live streaming using Nikon's free webcam utility. Also new to the Z series is the MB-11 vertical battery grip. The addition of an extra battery prolongs shoot time, and the A-slot battery can also be ejected while the camera is on and hot swapped without losing power. An interesting new feature that we found useful is that you can switch the focus ring on your lens in the menu system to reversible rotation while shooting in manual focus mode. For anyone picking up a Nikon for the first time, you might not be accustomed to the direction you have to turn the focus ring to pull your focus closer or further away. This option now gives you the choice if you're accustomed to another camera system, so you're less likely to make a mistake when it really counts. If you're looking to take long exposure photos beyond 30 seconds and you don't have a remote trigger on hand, you're in luck. The increased long exposure time has been increased from 30 seconds all the way up to 900 seconds in camera. Wireless upgrades provide a simplified solution for updating your camera's firmware. When you download Nikon's SnapBridge camera app, it will automatically tell you when a new update is available for the camera. You can then wirelessly upgrade your camera's firmware. The SnapBridge app is also a great tool to control the camera over Wi-Fi as well. With full remote control over the camera, you can easily set the camera up, capturing photos and videos of yourself. From there, you can edit photos directly in your favorite photo or video mobile editing app. Additionally, you can find a host of creative tools built in the 6.2, such as in-camera multiple exposure, focus shift mode for capturing multiple images across a focal plane to stack later in post, in-camera time-lapse, and 20 unique creative picture profiles. With the time-lapse mode, interval timer and time-lapse movies can be done at the same time. Moving on to the Z7 II, the new model features a backside illuminated 45.7 megapixel CMOS sensor with no optical low-pass filter. This continues its predecessor's ultra-high resolution image capture. We're going to photograph yours truly in glorious high resolution, so let's check out what else is under the hood. The 7 II has a dual X-Speed 6 image processor, increasing its max frames per second from 9 to 10, and its buffer storage is now 3.3 times faster than the original storage, bringing the total of shots up to 77 RAW files when shooting in continuous extended release mode in single point AF. There are 493 on-sensor focus points providing 90% coverage of the frame. Autofocus improvements include the addition of improved face and eye detection for humans and animals in wide area AF mode, allowing you to isolate a smaller portion of the frame. This feature is also available in movie recording mode. ISO ranges from 64 to 25,600 and can be expanded from low 1.0, 32 ISO equivalent, up to high 2.0, which is 102,400 equivalent. The 7 II also features 5-axis in-body stabilization when you're using Nikon Z lenses and 3-axis in-body stabilization when f-mount lenses are used. Every image we're shooting in the studio is off a tripod today, and the end results are extremely sharp. The 7 II shares many of the video-centric improvements with the 6 II. 4K Ultra HD is now expanded up to 60 frames per second, allowing for slow-motion video in ultra-high resolution. In its base setting, the camera records 8-bit color internally for immediate use. If you're looking to manipulate the image in post-production and have a deeper control over your image, there's a 10-bit color option with the N-Log. The camera can utilize N-Log in the new HDR or HLG output mode for more range in your footage. Once again, to access the 10-bit N-Log and HDR modes, you'll have to output to an external recorder via the HDMI. Pushing even further, the 7 II can output a 12-bit ProRes RAW file. With the coming firmware update in early 2021, a Blackmagic RAW output option will be available. On the physical side, the size, weight, and feel of the 7 II is near identical to that of the 7, so everything should feel pretty similar. On the side of the camera, you'll find the same inputs for headphones, a microphone, USB-C connection, HDMI mini, and remote. The 7 II also features a second card slot, opening up possibilities for redundant shooting, overflow shooting, and splitting your files across multiple cards. Slot 1 will utilize CF Express Type B and XQD formats, while Slot 2 will take UHS-2 SD cards. The EVF houses a 3.6 million dot quad VGA display, and now you can view the image in the EVF completely info-free for an unobstructed view of your subject. Blackout reduction times have been shortened when shooting with the EVF or the LCD. The 3.2-inch 2100 dot touch operable LCD monitor tilts up and down to make high and low shooting much easier. The battery in the 7 II is the new EN-EL15C type battery, which allows for the camera to be powered via the USB-C port for longer periods of time. All of the additional features that we mentioned for the 6.2 camera are also available on the 7.2 camera, including reverse lens focusing, increased exposure time to 900 seconds, wireless firmware upgrades, multiple exposure, focus shift mode, in-camera time-lapse, and 20 unique creative picture profiles. With all the new upgrades and the rapidly expanding Z lineup like the f2.8 Trinity lenses, the 14-24, the 24-70, and the 7200, new accessories like the new vertical grip, I'd say now is a great time to be getting involved with Nikon's mirrorless system. These model upgrades allow for better performance and a much faster workflow. I know we're looking forward to testing these cameras out a lot more in the coming months, but I want to know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. I'm Jake with B&H. Just keep rolling.